Hey guys, this is the Great Jedi and welcome back to the channel. Now today, I'm continuing my How to Not Suck and Become Unstoppable in-depth hero guide series, and in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to play Darth Vader in Star Wars Battlefront 2. But I'm not just going to show you how to play him, I'm going to show you the whole shebang like I do in this series, including striking, ability combos, use of stamina, star cards, and a bunch of other tips and tricks. And I do have quite a bit of tips and tricks to show you, so be sure to stay to the end of the video because the tips at the end are just as important as the ones in the beginning. Also, if you're just wanting to know how to lightsaber duel in general, or how to use blaster heroes against saber heroes, as well as just how to use other heroes in general, just be sure to check out those guides on the channel once you're done with this video. All those links will be in the description. Now that we got that out of the way, if you like these types of videos or like this series, be sure to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you never miss a video. It's free and it helps me out. Now let's start off with some basic things about Darth Vader. Vader has 800 health, which is more than the average lightsaber wielder, and has 250 base health regen, which is just about average for the standard lightsaber wielder. And for those that don't know what a health regen pull is, it is basically when you take a ton of damage, you can heal back up to 250 HP, meaning you don't get all of your health back. Although there is still a way of getting all of your health back if you end up taking a lot more damage than you initially thought, and that would be through his passive ability, which all the heroes have with the exception of Bosk, and that is health on elimination. And basically what a passive ability means is that you have it no matter what. You don't need any star cards to have it, you automatically have it even at level 1. And that passive ability makes it where Vader can regain health for each defeated enemy. So you get 20 health back for each trooper or reinforcement you kill, and 100 health back for an enemy hero. Now, regarding Vader's stamina pull, it's pretty good. I would say his is about average overall, but it can get better with certain star cards. And if you guys don't know where to see his stamina bar, it's right above the health bar at the bottom of the screen. It's a bluish white color until you get low, which in that case it will turn red as it depletes when you swing or block. And with Vader's base stamina, you can swing a total of 10 times before running out of stamina. Now I did want to also mention that it will take less stamina for you to block than to swing, so be sure to use that to your advantage in whatever situation you may be in. Vader also has a base of 2 normal dodges, which can be very effective when timing them right, because they can get you out of a lightsaber combo and also give you the ability to dodge incoming attacks, whether it's the opponent's basic attack or their abilities. And what I mean by that is that Vader has 2 dodges, which will continually recharge, and if you time them correctly, you can avoid an attack. For example, let's say Luke is about to push or repulse you with his abilities. You can dodge, and if you are in the middle of your dodge animation, then you won't be affected at all by it, and that goes for all dodges. Just notice I did say dodges and not dashes because they are slightly different. And I mean different in the aspect of abilities because some heroes actually have dash abilities which are different from dodges. Now, about his base lightsaber damage, you can do about 130 damage from the front and about 160 damage from behind, which means that you can one-shot all the infantry classes from the back with the exception of the heavy class. Just keep in mind that Vader also has a slower swing speed compared to a lot of the other heroes, so just use that to your advantage in your movement. I'm not saying it's completely bad because it's not, but there are definitely other heroes that can swing and move so much faster than him. So just keep that in mind when you're near a lot of enemies. For example, if you're trying to get a quick kill and then get out of the area because there's a lot of enemies around, I would say it's probably not going to be worth it unless you end up using your abilities because he does have that slower movement in general and he does have a slower swing speed. Although to counter that, he does have a ton of health and can definitely take hits. Like seriously. This half man, half machine is an absolute tanky beast. He can even do heavy damage, but in return, he's even slower compared to the other heroes. Like even his jump is a lot slower. And anytime I see a Vader player jump in the air, I just start shooting at him because he's so vulnerable. It sometimes looks like he's jumping in slow motion. So just be aware of your jumping and where you're gonna land when you do your jump. Just overall be aware of his movement, swing speed, and damage output if you don't have your abilities, because it's not a great idea to stay and get the kill because you may die trying to get the kill, and even if you get it, you know, just try and get out even though you're a tank because you have a better shot of just trying to get out of there, regain what health you can, and then go back and kick some butt with your abilities. Now, before I talk about his abilities, let's go over all of his strikes. Now remember, he has some decent damage strikes, so be sure to combo some of these moves together, and you'll see that you'll be able to take out your opponent very, very quickly. So, first off, you have his basic attack, then his right dash attack, then his left dash attack, then his back dash attack, then his front dash attack, then his lunge attack, then his small jump attack, and then he even has his normal jump attack. Now let's continue to talk about his 3 abilities. His middle one is called Focused Rage, and that allows Vader to channel the dark side of the Force and focus his rage. The stamina cost of his melee strikes are halved, meaning that he has twice as much stamina and you deal bonus damage while he receives temporary bonus health. So when you activate this ability, you get more stamina, more health, and you deal more damage. Your stamina goes from 10 swings to 19, which is a bit weird because they do say you get twice as much, which means it should be 20, but still 19 swings is a lot, and the extra damage he does only applies to his basic attacks and not his abilities, and it does increase it by 15 more damage per swing. So instead of doing 160 damage from the back, it will do 175. Not only that, he gets 200 more health, which means if he uses this ability when he's at full health, he goes from 800 health to 1000, which is absolutely insane. Now the only downside to this ability is that it has an activation animation that goes with it. So if you happen to use it in the wrong spot, you can get melted to the point where the entire 200 health you just gave yourself is already gone. Although there is a nice trick of getting out of that, and that is through comboing your ability with striking, which basically means you can activate the ability as you're swinging on the ground, and it completely bypasses the activation animation. For example, if you're on PlayStation, you can press both bumpers and the right trigger at the same time, which includes L1, R1, and R2, and you will completely bypass that entire animation. Plus, the ability only has about a 15-second cooldown, which isn't bad at all for an ability that does that much stuff. Now moving on to his left ability, which is called Saber Throw. It is where Vader can throw his lightsaber, cutting through and dealing damage to any enemies in his way. Now, this ability has a base damage of 130 damage per hit, and you may be wondering what I mean by per hit. And what I mean by that is that you can hit them in front with the Saber Throw, and then as the saber is coming back to you, you can hit them on the way back. Now, I have noticed that hit detection is really hit and miss on the way back if you end up hitting them in the front, and that's just because it bugs out sometimes. But the way I like to go around that is that most of the time you can actually bypass that and dodge back as you do your saber throw, and it's a lot more consistent that way. So instead of just doing 130 damage in the front or back, not killing infantry, you can literally dash back as you throw it, and you can see it hit the front and back of your enemies almost every single time. And I say almost every single time because it's like I said, it bugs out sometimes. But if you do land both hits with the saber throw, it can do 260 damage, which can take out even heavies. Now the cool thing about this ability is that you can use it in the air, but it's not restricted in the air like the other force powers. And what I mean by that is that you not only can throw his saber on the way up from jumping, but you can also use it on your way down. Now this ability can be avoided by dodges and blocking, but normally this ability is a great way to finish off those weak block spammers that do nothing but block. Now you may be wondering, well, how do you kill them? You just said a second ago that they can block it, and that's true. But remember that the saber throw has to come back to you, so it will hit them on the way back. Now, it is very hard for them to dodge to the side and avoid it because the hitbox on that thing is bigger than what you think, and even if they turn around to block it, that's perfect for you because now for a split second they have their back turned to you and you can hit them or follow up with another ability. Or even after playing with this ability for a while and realizing how far the distance is with it, you can actually time it just about right where the saber goes directly behind them and comes back. That way they don't have any time to turn around and block it or dodge it. Now, I will say that may sound hard, but trust me, once you get used to the distance and that ability and practice it a few times, you'll see it's pretty simple to pull off. Plus, it only has about an 8-second cooldown timer for this ability, so you'll be able to use it pretty often. Now, moving on to his right ability, he has Choke, and Choke allows Vader to choke a cluster of enemies ahead of him, dragging them off the ground and through the air to drop them into danger. Now, this ability does about 126 base damage without any star cards, which may not seem like a lot, but trust me, most likely they're going to be taking so much more damage than that because you are literally holding them in place in midair. So as they're being held there for a couple of seconds, that gives your team enough time to do some damage to them, or if you happen to be in a 1v1 situation, you can combo your other abilities into it as well. Now, what's also cool about this ability is that you get 80% damage reduction while using this ability, which means that you're only taking 20% of the normal damage, which definitely helps him because Darth Vader moves extremely slow while in the force choke and he can't turn around. So just overall, be careful when you activate that ability, because if you get the entire team behind you, then you can still get melted like chocolate on a hot day very, very quickly, even with your damage reduction if you're not aware, or if you end up using it at the wrong time. But if all the enemies are in front of you, then you are good, because you got 80% damage reduction, and you can also still use your block like Vader did in the Rogue One hallway scene. The only real downside that I see to this ability is that it has about a 25-second cooldown, which is quite a bit compared to the other ability cooldowns, so just be sure to use it wisely. Not only that, this ability is quite buggy, so don't rely on it too much. For example, someone may just be swing spamming you or running at you trying to use an ability, and they will just sometimes be completely unaffected. Now, I will say some of those abilities you're just not able to get them out of, like Obi-Wan's all-out push. So the more you play this game, the more you'll learn about what abilities you can choke them out of and which ones you can't. That just comes in with practice. Now, another thing I want to point out is that you can slightly move your force-choked opponents around to the left, right, and up. You can actually drag them to the left or right by turning your camera, and that is especially helpful with maps that have cliffs, because that way you can cheap kill your enemies. I also mentioned that you can move them up, and you can do that by jumping after you use your force choke. Now, jumping while using your force choke opens up so many combos. Not only that, it also makes it harder for your enemies to hit you, and you can even lead up with a jump attack as your opponent is falling to the floor on your way out of the area. Now, for this part of the video, I'm going to be going over my hero mode star cards, which includes heroes versus villains and hero showdown, as well as giving you guys some tips for those modes. And for my large scale mode star cards, which include Galactic Assault and Supremacy, as well as giving you guys some more tips and tricks for those modes as well. So let's get started off with my hero mode star cards. Now, before I do say them, I do want to say that all the star cards are pretty good, and it's really up to you and your playstyle. But after playing the game for a while and figuring out my playstyle, these are the star cards that work best for me. Now, for the hero modes, I go with bonus health, punishing grip, and last gasp. I go with the bonus health star card because it increases Darth Vader's maximum health by 150 HP, meaning that he goes from a base health of 800 to 950, and then if he activates his middle ability, he gets 1150 HP, which is absolutely insane and is extremely helpful because it just makes you that much more of a tank. Then I chose the star card Punishing Grip because that allows Vader to choke for a longer time. In fact, he'll be able to choke his enemies 40% longer in the choke, which not only means they'll be staying still in the choke longer, but he will also be doing more damage since he does damage per second. And he does about 63 damage per second on average, and his base ability holds them up for about 2 seconds, which means that if you have this star card equipped, the damage will go from 126 damage to 174 damage, which will take out all the infantry with the exception of the heavy class. Not only that, that's a decent chunk of health for a hero. Then I chose my last star card, Last Gasp, because it allows Vader to deal more damage when choking 2 or more enemies, which is pretty easy to do. In fact, he does 50% more damage, and plus that stacks with the Punishing Grip star card, which means his damage goes from 174 damage from the Punishing Grip star card to 261 damage, which will take down so many heroes because you're not only doing this damage to just one hero, you're doing it to all of them that get in your choke. Not only that, that's enough to take out even heavies. Now, if you don't like my main 3 choices, there is another star card I would recommend, especially if you're in a 1v1 situation, and that would be Intensified Lightsaber Throw. And I would switch out that for Last Gasp. I say Last Gasp because you need to choke 2 or more people to get that extra damage, and you won't be able to do that in a 1v1, so Intensified Lightsaber Throw is a great replacement because that card allows Vader to deal 30 bonus damage to enemies hit by his lightsaber throw with a second time in one throw, and I've already showed you guys how to get that second in pretty easily, so that brings up the damage from 260 to 290, which is another powerful ability. And now that you guys know why I chose those cards for the hero modes, I can give you a quick few tips on how to take out those annoying enemy heroes. So one skill you gotta learn is pairing. If you don't know how to do it, be sure to check the description for another video I've made because I go into depth on it. Now, besides pairing, comboing your abilities and using your powerful strikes is a great way to use your hero effectively. For example, some easy combos you can pull off is before going into battle, activate your Focus Rage ability, and that way any damage you take, it takes away that bonus health instead of your actual health pull, and then you have multiple different options to combo your 2 abilities and strikes. For example, you can force choke, and then towards the end of the force choke, you can hit them with the saber throw, but once you throw it, you can actually dash towards them and turn. That way you're behind them and you can do 2 normal strikes. Or you can force choke them, do a quick jump, then do a jump attack while you turn back and then strike them 2 times. And then as they're running away with their little bit of health, you can finish them off by doing your saber throw attack when they're not expecting it. And you may be wondering, how the heck do you do a jump and then do a jump attack before they hit the ground? And that's a perfect thing you should be wondering about, and that's because your quick jump can't be where you're holding X for your jump. You literally press it once, and then once you hit the ground, you go for the jump attack as your opponent is falling towards the ground, because when you do that quick jump, your opponent in the force choke will go higher, which means when you hit the ground again, they'll be coming down defenseless, and that's when you can go up and strike. Now also remember to follow up with that jump attack with turning around, so you can get those extra 2 hits in from the back. And there's tons of different combos like that, so be sure to play around with them and try and figure out what suits you best for your playstyle. Now if you're going against a blaster user, you need to close that distance. So what I would recommend doing is dodging side to side and walk towards them with your block up to close that distance to the point where you're close enough to force choke them, because if you're that close and a skilled player with Vader, there's no way you're losing. Just try to avoid jumping as Vader as a way to try and close the distance, because I can't tell you how much damage I've done to those Vader players that are just jumping in slow motion right towards me. Also remember that you have 2 powerful abilities that can be used at range to your advantage, plus you're just that much more deadly up close. Even if you have to go against a roly-poly, wait for them to waste their rolls and then do a force choke combo, and wait for them to waste their rolls again, and then you strike. If they aren't a roly-poly and they're just standing like a dummy shooting, just deflect the bullets right back at them and then strike them. Now, for the larger scale game modes, I would go with the star cards Furious Resilience, Bonus Health, and Last Gasp. Now, if you want to know some of the other great star cards I use and switch out from time to time in these large scale game modes, I also go with Intensify, Lightsaber Throw, and Punishing Grip. But the first 3 I named are my main 3 that I use most of the time. I've already explained why I use the Intensify, Lightsaber Throw, Punishing Grip, Bonus Health, and Last Gasp star cards, but I want to explain why I like to use Furious Resilience in these game modes. I like to go with Furious Resilience because it allows Darth Vader to receive 25% less damage while in Focus Rage, because it allows Darth Vader to receive 25% less damage while Focus Rage is active, meaning he gets 25% damage reduction in addition to getting more health, dealing more damage, and getting more stamina while activating his middle ability. Now for some tips in these larger scale game modes is to really use your abilities wisely. For example, you want to activate your middle ability when you're taking a lot of damage, or if you know you're going to take a lot of damage into a specific area, then activate it before going in. Also, try not to use your force choke on just one player unless it's a hero or you really want to, because it will be used so much better if you end up choking an entire group of enemies, and then while they're in the air, you can just throw your saber and wipe them all out. Then if there's any reinforcements, they should be about 1 shot left, so you can just follow up with a basic attack. Just overall, play Vader as he's meant to be played, you know. Be a powerful damage tank, but still be aware of your positioning, and that will come with practice. For example, once you just start taking damage, get out of there until you get your health regen, because I guarantee you, you're going to lose way more health just trying to get out of the area because Vader is slow. Remember, you can always go back and get them with your abilities once they recharge, and also don't be afraid to use his abilities defensively as well, because if there ends up being a sweat hero on you, you can just turn around and do that force choke combo on them, and if they're still alive, most likely they will just run off, but even if they don't, they're going to be low. You can just slowly back up to your team with your block up, waiting for your abilities to be charged again, so you can go right back at them. Now, if you want to know some good maps that you can do decent with Vader, and I'm not saying you can't do good with him on any of the other maps, because you definitely can. You can honestly do great with him no matter the map, as long as he's in the right hands. But if you are wanting to practice with Vader, maps like Death Star 2, Tatooine, Naboo, and Endor are great for him. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this hero guide. If you did enjoy it, please consider liking the video if you liked it, or dislike it if you disliked it. But if any of you guys have any questions, comments, or constructive criticism for me, please put them all in the comments down below, because I do read and respond to them. Seriously, some people don't ask me questions because they don't think I'm going to answer them, or they don't want to bother me. What's the worst that can happen? Me not answer? Come on. Remember, I'm here to help you guys out. Also, remember that there's always improvement that can be made, so be sure to let me know what I can do better for all those future hero guides. And if you are interested in those future hero guides, Battlefront 2 in general, just everything Star Wars, or just want to help me out, please consider sharing, liking, and subscribing while hitting that notifications bell down below so you never miss a video. And if you guys have any other tips for Darth Vader that you guys can give, be sure to do so in the comments down below, because there's tons of different tips and tricks and different strategies out there, so others may learn from the comment section as well. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and may the Force be with you always.